Hi, my name's Penny, and as usual, I'm here to talk about some bookish things. Specifically, today we're going to be doing the alphabet soup tag N is for Novella. So this is a series of tags that Sean, the book maniac, has been doing, where he's creating a tag for each letter. This is the letter N, and I was tagged by Gaia Athena, so I will leave links to both of their channels down in the description, but let's get into the questions. So first we have N is for Novella. Name the last good one you read. So for me, that was definitely The Test by Sylvain Novella. This is a short story about a man who goes to take his residency test, and then things get quite intense. And it does take a look at how your values influence your actions. I'm not entirely sure what the final conclusion from the novella was, but please read it and let me know what you thought. N is for neighbor. Name a work of fiction focused or at least largely concerned with neighbors. Now, this was really hard because I read a lot of fantasy and I feel like fantasy doesn't think about neighbors too much. Regardless, I eventually came up with the Midnight Texas series by Charlaine Harris. So this is set in the same world as True Blood, but it's set in this tiny town called Midnight Texas, basically this crossroads in the middle of nowhere, and it just follows the different paranormal dramas that the different people in the town are going through and how they support each other during those times. It's a really strange series because I didn't find the plot really that amazing, but I just felt so attached to the characters and I just really liked hanging out in Midnight Texas. N is for name. Name an author you'd recommend whose first or last name starts with N. And I know I already mentioned him, but the best one that I think I could recommend would be Sylvain Novella. I have almost finished the Themis Files by him, and that is a series I really recommend. And I do need to have a look and see what other stuff he's written because I can't imagine that it wouldn't be amazing. N is for nuptials. Name a work of fiction that didn't suck about a wedding. Again, this was really hard because I don't particularly like weddings, and all the ones that came to mind first were about weddings that I kind of thought were boring, but then I remembered Magic Binds by Alona Andrews. So this is the 9th book in the Kate Daniels series, I believe, and this is the one where Kate and her love interest finally tie the knot. I think what I liked about this is that Kate herself isn't really into the whole wedding thing. She's too busy off investigating a murder and just trying to look after the people that she loves. But everybody else is like, no, you've got to have this wedding, and they're making demands about what the wedding should involve. And she really doesn't care, and I love that. N is for not aging well. Name a book that you like less than when you read it. So I have a few options for this. Firstly, the Dragons of Pern series. I have been putting off continuing this series. I haven't gone back and read any of the earlier books, but I have a very strong suspicion that if I did, I wouldn't like them as much as I did at the time when I was first discovering the world of Pern and dragons and fantasy. I thought it was so amazing, but now having a lot more experience about what amazing fantasy is like, I'm not sure that the Dragons of Pern series would count. Also, Christopher Pike's books, again, I haven't reread my favorites from when I was a teen, but all the Christopher Pike books I have read as an adult weren't as good as I thought they were when I was a teen. And then also the Valdemar series by Mercedes Lackey. This was hugely formative for me when I was a teen. I learned so much about different kinds of people and the importance of diversity and like open-mindedness, but I'm really scared to go back and read this series because I suspect that the writing is not going to be what I like anymore. I don't know. If you've read any of these series recently and you think they're still great, then maybe let me know. N is for N. Name a book title with lots of N's. So the best one that I could find for this is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So 3 in the title, 2 in the author's name. I went through all my books on Goodreads and that was the best I could find. I thought I would find some kind of crazy title that was full of N's, but N just is like a filler letter, isn't it? Poor N. So obviously everybody's heard about the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. It's about a Hollywood starlet who's had 7 husbands, and it just tells the story of why she married all those guys and who her true love was. N is for not sure. Name a book you keep changing your mind about whether you want to read it or not. So for me, that would be Unfettered. I actually almost unhauled this at one point just because it's a short story anthology and it's really thick, and I thought, am I ever going to get to it? Probably not. I'll just unhaul it. And then I realized that it's signed by Patrick Rothfuss, and I thought, can I really unhaul a signed book? And then I had a look at all the authors that are in this anthology, and I realized that there are some of my favorites in there. So I've put it back on my TBR, and I have had people tell me that it's good. So I want to read it, but I also just never really go for short story anthologies, and I never really pick up books this long unless I'm really excited about them. So I go back and forth as to whether I think this should still be on my shelves, but I think I want to read it. I'm not sure. N is for nitpick. Name some small literary, writing, or book-related thing that drives you around the bend. So at first I couldn't think of anything. I was like, wow, I'm just so relaxed, nothing annoys me. And then I remembered what really annoys me is when you have different editions of books that look the same but are different sizes. So one example would be the Kate Daniels series. First 9 books of the series look like this, they're this size, and then the 10th book, the final book of the series, comes along and it's this size. Same style, pretty much, but not the same size. Another example, I have the White Cat series by Holly Black. This is the first book in the series. Then the second and the third books that I managed to get, this size. I bought this one in a book fair, and then when I bought this on Book Depository, I was like, yeah, looks like the same cover. I should be good with the editions matching. And then I got it, and I thought, no, that's not right. Very annoying. Like, I don't mind if the cover changes, that's okay, but if it looks the same, it should properly match. N is for next to nothing. Name a book you read as an adult you can barely remember a blessed thing about. I thought that there would be a lot of these because I have 650 read books on my Goodreads list, and I thought for sure there'll be a few of these that I don't remember. And I went through, and there was really only one that I can't remember anything significant about, and that is Blood Red Dawn by Karen E. Taylor. So this is a book that my mum gave me, and it was actually the 7th book in a series, and I remember that I did read it because I was like, well, I mean, she gave it to me, so why not? And if I like it, maybe I'll go back and find the rest of the series. All I remember is that it had vampires, maybe? Don't really remember. N is for New Zealand. Name a book or a writer you'd like to read from there. Now, if you don't know, I'm from New Zealand, so I know a few New Zealand authors, although not as many as I'd like to, but I would like to do a separate video at some point about New Zealand authors and even force myself to find some new ones. But still, I did struggle with picking just one for this question, but I am going to. I decided to go with Pip Ballantyne, or Philippa Ballantyne, who wrote this Book of the Order, which is one of my favorite series. I mean, if you look at it, the style is very similar to Kate Daniels. We've got a badass woman, we got a lion, same, and this other guy, he hangs out with her too. So I really love this series. Philippa Ballantyne writes with her husband, I believe, called T. Morris, and they no longer live in New Zealand, they live in the States, but I really enjoyed these books, and I'm reading some more books from their other series this month, and I'm excited about how that's going to go. N is for Nodding Off, a mind-numbingly boring book. So the ones that immediately jumped to mind for me for this were Golden Sun by Pierce Brown, which I just read, Also, Blood Witch by Susan Dennard. Both of those I found incredibly boring. I know lots of people love both those books, but I just did not care enough to pay attention. Another example that I think would be considered blasphemy by some people is A Feast of Crows by George R.R. Martin. In fact, a lot of A Song of Ice and Fire, I find it a little bit boring. Like, I kind of like the bigger story, but it does go on and on. So for all of you who are being forced to feel guilty for not having read A Song of Ice and Fire, please don't. It's definitely not for everyone. N is for next. What is the next book you're going to read? So I have just started to read Stronger, Faster and More Beautiful by Arwen Ellis Dayton. So this is a bunch of science fiction short stories. And I have already started The Painted Man by Peter V. Brett. I mean, I don't know what the next book I pick up after this one will be. I think I'll be reading this for a little while, but I am really enjoying this as well. N is for Now It's Your Turn. Tag a bevy of booktubers. So I do like the collective plural of booktubers, a bevy of booktubers that Sean has created. To be honest, I'm really bad at tagging people. It's funny, I always feel like I'm going to be annoying people by tagging them, even though I never feel annoyed when people tag me, so why would I assume that other people will be annoyed? It doesn't make any sense, but that's how I feel. So I also don't want to have to go and look and figure out who's done this tag already. So basically, if you've gotten this far through the video to the end, then you are tagged unless you've already done this tag. So please let me know down below when you've done the tag. Otherwise, that is all for now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.